Hello and welcome to Teaching My Cat to Read, the very serious book review podcast. I'm Eli.
I'm M, or N. That's an Agatha Christie joke for you, y'all.
And I'm Lottie, and this week we are discussing everything about Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie.
So I couldn't come up with a terrible summary for this, apart from, I've had it up to here with these motherfudging murderers on this motherfudging train.
That's quite good. Just Poirot wanted to get on a train and go home, and now he's got another murder case to solve.
He's tired! Let him live, damn it!
He didn't even want to be on that train. He was going to be like a little tourist in Istanbul for a while, and then he gets another... So he's just solved one case. He's like, please, God, can I have a little holiday? He gets a telegram at his hotel saying, you must come back to London immediately because another of your cases is, kicked off. And he's like, ugh, okay, well, I guess I'll just take the Orient Express, which is, luxurious. He knows the director, just a chill, nice travelling journey. And then it all kicks off on the train. So he really just... The summary of this is Poirot just cannot catch a break.
Yeah, Poirot is having a no good, very bad 3 days.
Yeah, basically. So I had seen the movie, the Kenneth Branagh movie of this, I guess, 3 years ago when it came out. I remember, watching it on a plane or something. And I had not read the book or seen the David Suchet, both of which I've done within the last week with them. So I was watching this movie and I was like, I don't know if the twist in this movie is something that they made up for the movie or if that's the real reveal of the book.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, we can argue about that. I have strong opinions about whether that reveal...
okay, the twist being, and, pause now if you don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah, spoilers. This is going to be a really spoilery episode, my dudes.
Go and read the book and then come back and listen to the spoiler.
Yeah, seriously, I don't want to be the ones responsible for ruining this for you, because it's really good.
Yeah, the book is the best version of this story that I've consumed so far.
Yeah.
The twist is they all did it. Every single other passenger on the train who is a suspect is also actually did it. And it was a massive conspiracy to get revenge on this awful man who'd murdered a child 5 years ago. And they're all connected to that murder in some way. And yeah, I had not... when I watched the Kenneth Branagh movie, I was like, this is kind of so over the top as a movie that I could buy that they've completely just changed the story of the murder to fit in with how over the top the movie is. Yeah. Which is it's not that over the top, but it has action scenes in it, which is not very Poirot.
Yeah, I haven't watched the film purely because in my head, I've grown up on watching ITV in the UK do Miss Marple. They do loads of Agatha Christie adaptations that I've watched. Quite a lot of Poirot. I think I might have seen this one before. I remember what the twist was, but I couldn't remember if I was making that up.
That one has a lot of famous people in it, that adaptation. It has Jessica Chastain before she got famous.
Yeah, and it's what I love about the his adaptation is, so David Suchet in my head is Poirot, and he just does it so well. I think if you imagine a small Belgian man wandering around solving crimes, in my head it's David Suchet. I just can't change that. So
see, this is really interesting to me.
I agree, but he's also super sanctimonious in that adaptation.
Yeah, that is true.
Which does bug me. And I understand it might be part of a longer spanning character beat because obviously he's playing that character over loads of adaptations, whereas the movie is a one-off.
Yeah.
We've gone straight to adaptations. We haven't even talked about the book yet. But
yeah, I was going to say, so we've heard how Eli first kind of came across this, but how much Christie had you guys read? Had you just, Lottie, had you just seen it on ITV or had you read any of them before?
I definitely read Death on the Nile before.
Okay.
I might have read another one because we have a trilogy here. I might have read it for a book club in year 8. Because, nerds. I think I had maybe read the book. I can't remember. I knew what the twist was going into it. I thought, I think the twist is they all did it. But what I loved about this book, I love the fact that it's a very simple book to follow. It's very complicated in its plot, but it is very easy for the reader to follow what's going on.
I appreciate that because I'm really thick about plots. I cannot keep all this in my head. And the Kindle copy has a diagram and stuff.
Oh, I love the diagram.
I'm just this is delightful, thank you. I needed that. Because my brain can't hold all these moving parts in one, I can't do it.
I really liked having seen an adaptation before I read the book because it made it easier to keep an image in my head of the various characters. Even though both adaptations I've seen change things about, particularly the Doctor on the train.
Yeah.
But
I actually found it harder to follow the TV show, and I had to keep pausing and like checking who was who. Like I did watch it over a couple of days, to be fair, but I found the book very easy to follow because it was saying, okay, the first thing, this is the murder, that's like part 1, then it's collecting all the evidence, and each chapter is a different person, and then it's Poirot has a think about it, and then he solves it, and it's like, oh, this is nice. I mean, what I also love, so I have also watched a documentary on Agatha Christie because I just want to know some more backstory. And so basically her first like murder mystery was published in 1920, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, and her favourite review was from the Journal of Pharmacology because it said it was very accurate about poisons. Like, I just love that.
I love the specialised knowledge review. That's delightful to me.
That's in the Doctor Who episode about Agatha Christie where she knows a lot about poison.
I know, and like, but she's very accurate about it. Like, she worked in a dispensary during the war, so she knows her stuff, but... Yeah, I just love it, the accuracy of what she does, and so it just makes it more realistic.
And I feel like it's the perfect job if you want to be the kind of person that nerds out about really specific things on a regular basis, right? Because like you're like, oh, okay, I'm interested in, I don't know, theatre right now, so I'm gonna have a murder that hinges on like, you know, the lighting system and the timings of the lighting system in a theatre work, or, you know, you get to do that really like specialised Wikipedia spiral. Yeah. To like, and it's like, this is my job, y'all. This is my actual paying job.
I do love that.
That sounds like the ADHD dream, to be honest.
I tell you what, something that I also loved about the book was her descriptions were incredibly funny. Like like Poirot's description, when Ratchet, basically who's the bad guy who ends up dying, Ratchet basically tries to go to Poirot and say, hi, can you take on a case, please? Because I think I'm being effectively followed. And he just basically says, I don't like your face, Mr. Ratchet.
Yeah.
And I'm just like...
It's so funny.
Book Poirot is my favourite Poirot, and like that moment cemented that for me. He's just like, sorry, I don't like your face. The vibe's rancid.
It's like, you know, at primary school, it's like, talk to the hand because the face ain't listening. I feel it's like that. It's just that.
It reminds me of, there was a post on Tumblr I saw where it's like, it's talking about how so many actors misunderstand Sherlock Holmes because he doesn't have arsehole energy, he has bitch energy. And
Poirot
so does Poirot.
Is exactly the same.
Yeah, he's just like this fussy little man. And that's one of the things I liked about the Kenneth Branagh version, is he did make Poirot very endearing. And I think that's that's a very strong aspect of his character, is he's not threatening. Yeah. He's not intimidating. He's just this fussy little man who also just sees everything.
The humour, I really appreciated the humour of it. Like, it's very, like, dry, understated humour. A lot of it's in, like, the narration. Like, there's a moment where Monsieur Book in the book is... Yeah, sort of, not yelling, but he's sort of complaining gently about the fact that, like, this murder has been committed on his train, and he's just like, whether or not, murders should happen is by the by, but do they really have to do them on the Orient Express? Do they have to do them on my train?
The man may have deserved to die, but, you know, there are other places.
Yeah, and Poirot's just like, there, friend, it's okay. It's just, he has just this very, like, cute reaction to it. It's, I enjoyed that.
Them as like him and the it's Dr. Constantine, who's like the sidekick, and he basically tries to deduce a la Sherlock, like what's going on, and then Poirot's like, no, that is a stupid idea. Don't do that.
And Monsieur Book is just so totally stuck on it being an Italian. He said, there's an Italian on the train. Italians stab people. The racism is very European. It's very British middle class 20s racism.
Yeah. It's just like, Italians obviously stab people with a knife. I'm like, how have you come to this deduction? Like, that's such a sweeping statement to make. I mean,
that's not a stereotype we still have.
It's all these stereotypes that we just, like, don't necessarily have anymore.
Yeah.
They're very, like, of their time. These very European, like, French people have these prejudices about Italian people. So many people are rude about the British in this book, and to be honest,
fair,
it's what we deserve.
We deserve it. I mean, to be fair, I do love the line where it says, true to their nationality, the two English people were not chatty.
Yep. That was delightful to me.
It's just so true, because if you get a load of British people in the room and someone doesn't start a conversation, it is just abject silence. So, yeah.
I feel like this is a shortcut that the Kenneth Branagh adaptation really missed, because the Princess Dragomirov brings her dogs on the train. And as we all know, like, walking a dog is the only shortcut. It's the cheat code that allows the British to talk to strangers.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is true.
Like, it's the only thing, is cute animals.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, that is highly true now, having, like, walking a dog in the countryside, and I will not talk to strangers, but if they have a cute dog, I'd be like, excuse me, can I just, like, I can't obviously pet the dog now because COVID.
I don't want to talk to you, but I do want to talk to your dog.
I just want to say that your dog is cute.
Yeah. Like, I don't talk to people when I'm out. I do just talk to the dog. It's not really a cheat code for me. I just go straight for the dog and I ignore the person, and I think that's fine.
I wish we'd had, like, the humour moment of Ratchet being really afraid of the dogs. And they're like tiny Shih Tzus or something. You know, like posh old woman dogs that are just tiny and really ugly. Which is actually, thinking about the princess and being ugly, like, in the book, it does not hold back. It just is like, she's so ugly.
Rude.
Her face is, like, yellowed. Her hands are like claws. She's so ugly. She's so obviously very rich. And it's just this absolutely brutal description of her.
I mean, there's one description, I can't remember who it was, where she just says they have a face like a sheep.
It's the old nurse. It's the nursery maid. It's this, in the book. She's Swedish.
But it's just, it's so brutal.
Yeah. And in the Kenneth Branagh movie, she's had a race lift to be Mexican, and she's played, Mexican or Spanish, it is not made clear, and she's played by Penelope Cruz. And it's like, oh yes, this unassuming Swedish woman with a face like a sheep is played by Penelope Cruz.
That doesn't work. Like,
yeah. The character still works.
Yeah, there's a lot of dragging of the characters in. And one of the things I really enjoyed actually was that how I felt it was considering how many moving parts there are in this novel and how many characters that you need to keep track of. Mm-hmm. I thought that the characters were very well sketched in.
Yes.
For you know, how much time we had with them and how much Poirot actually interacts with them. They felt very distinct in their own people without very much effort having gone into it, which I appreciated.
I think the ones we see the least of are I said the Hungarian diplomats, but like only one of them is Hungarian.
Yeah.
Which is, as it turns out, the aunt of the little girl who was murdered, and then the husband that she's married since. Yeah. We don't really see them a lot, but we do in the movie a bit more. But yeah.
If you didn't know what the twist was, like, what do you think was, like, who was the murderer? Because, like, in the book, I felt like you're sort of aligned to whatever Dr. Constantine's saying. You're thinking, yeah, it's this guy, it's this guy, it's this guy. And then actually go, oh, no, it's not this guy.
I mean, Dr. Constantine is the audience stand-in, really, in the book, isn't he? He's the one doing the very obvious putting the clues together thing. But then the thing is as well that that's always slightly tempered by Poirot. Just, like, he never really goes, you're wrong, mate. But he is very just, like, he's very reserved about Constantine's opinions in a way that is very, like, you're wrong, but I can't be asked to correct you right now.
It's like Constantine will say something and Poirot will go, eh.
Yeah, basically.
Have you thought? Maybe not.
That's the thing I really appreciated about this one. I think the movies both lent very heavily on Poirot as the singular great man, you know? And I think the book is very much like, here was Poirot with his two good trained friends, and together they will solve a crime. And I enjoyed that about it. Even if, like, Poirot is doing literally all the work, he's still very much on a team with Monsieur Bouc and Dr. Constantine, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, they get together and have little, like, tete-a-tetes where they sort of talk about the murder, you know.
But I think what I like about that is I personally find, you know, murder mystery books, you can be sometimes quite complicated to follow, especially like, if you're trying to pick up clues. And what I liked about this is, like, so I think it's the last section, it's just a chapter called 10 Questions, and it's basically just recaps for the reader all the things that need to be answered. And so you go, oh yeah, there was that thing. Oh yeah, there was that thing. Oh yeah, there's that thing. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Agatha Christie.
Yeah, it's a very well organised. It reminds me a little of, there's a bit in my favourite Lord Peter Wimsey book, and I'm going to pronounce the title wrong, I apologise. Gaudy Night? Gaudy Night? Which way round is that? What is that vowel sound?
Don't ask me.
What letter does it have at the end? If it's
Gaudy.
That's Gaudy, I think. Gaudi is the Catalan architect, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Gaudy Night. And it's not actually following Wimsey for most of it. It's following Harriet Vane, who's... I will not do her down by referring to her as the love interest, because she is her own protagonist in her own right, and I adore her. But she's trying to solve a mystery at her old Oxford college. And there is this whole thing of her, like, putting together a dossier. And, like, she hands it over to Wimsey at the end of the book, and he's like, well, this is very scholarly. This is a very scholarly, organised, you know, you've got an organised mind, and this is all put together in a very, like, logical and sensible way. And this reminded me of that quite a lot.
Yeah, so thinking of other detectives, how do you think this setup would have played out if it had been, I don't know, Holmes or Miss Marple on the train instead of Poirot?
Well, Miss Marple would have known somebody. I don't actually like Miss Marple. I'm going to get on a rant here. Miss Marple would have known somebody back in her village that reminded her of every single one of the passengers, and that would have told her how to solve the crime. Like, okay, I'm not like as mad about the whole what an insult to the rich variety of the human experience thing with Miss Marple as I am with like some takes on Holmes, but I am quite mad about it.
Two things are too coincidental.
Like, oh, this person reminds me of this. I know somebody exactly like this person, and that's told me who the murderer is every time. I'm like, really?
I mean, I think I to be fair, I haven't actually read Miss Marple books. I think the Agatha Christie I have read have been Poirot. But what is kind of endearing about Miss Marple is this little old lady who's just running rings around the police. But yeah, it's not really a Miss Marple crime. Like if Miss Marple was here, she'd be sitting there having a little cup of tea properly. And like you say, saying, oh, I knew this person in my village, and they know someone, and they know someone, and they know someone.
Like, I don't think she wouldn't have made friends with the same people, necessarily. I don't know that she would have, like, I mean, the thing about, I mean, it's more evident in the movie, but like, or the TV show, rather, but like, I don't think you would have had that same thing of Monsieur Bouc and the doctor, like, gathering round her to be like, famous detective, tell me your thoughts.
Yeah.
You know? Like, who was in charge of this investigation would have gone very differently. Because that's the whole thing with Miss Marple, isn't it? Is that she's just able to sit knitting in a corner and nobody pays attention to her. Whereas Poirot, particularly in the adaptations, but still in the book, is very much front and centre, being forced into being a leader of men, even if he isn't necessarily...
Yeah, and he still does rely on people underestimating him a little bit by presenting this very affable, sort of endearing front.
Yeah. There's a few moments in the book where he deliberately messes up his English or makes his accent more French to, like, put people on their, like, off their guard.
Yes. Like, he tries to almost present himself as bumbling.
Which is hilarious to me because they're all doing that to him as well.
I guess similar to Sherlock, though, like, he does state that he doesn't need to take the case for money. He does it for fun. And so that is kind of a similarity with Sherlock, but I feel he's less in your face about it. He just enjoys going around solving his crimes, and he's a good investigator, but he's not like, I am the greatest Poirot. Look at me, behold me as I am here on this train.
He does say that in the Kenneth Branagh movie, because somebody says to him, you know, who are you? What, you know, why the hell are you questioning us? And he goes, well, my name is Hercule Poirot, and I'm very probably the greatest detective in the world. But he doesn't say it as a brag, he just says it as a fact.
Aww.
Well, yeah. I think Holmes would have solved it, would have had the thought of they all did it sooner than Poirot.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Holmes likes people as much as Poirot does.
Yes.
I think he's more of a misanthropist than Poirot is.
I think Poirot is a little bit held back by, not just by the fact that it's such a massive conspiracy, which I think it's not the first thing to jump in your mind, is it, really?
God, can you imagine getting 12 people to all work together on something like this? Like, just think about your life and your job and, like, the meetings that you have to go to. Getting 12 people to work in concert towards something as complicated as this?
Yeah.
That is a miracle.
Like, who do we think is the person in this group project that was doing all the work?
Mary Debenham.
Because there's always one.
Mary Debenham and Linda Arden.
Yeah, they did quite a lot. But I feel like they are holding the group project together. They are the leaders of the group project. I think what's kind of nice, well, sort of nice, but at the end, it's like Poirot's trying to sort of weigh up what he should do about these criminals, because on the one hand, they have committed a murder. All 12 of them have committed the murder, so they don't know who actually killed him, because 12 of them stabbed him. But, Ratchet, that is. But on the flip side is they killed somebody who killed someone dear to them. So he's kind of like, do I hand them over to police or do I not? Like, do I let them go? And in the ITV version, he sort of like lets them go, I think. But, well, it's implied.
Well, yeah, he does in the kind of fun one. Here's something I wanted to bring up, which is that in both of the adaptations I've watched, they each raise the question of, would these passengers kill Poirot and Monsieur Bouc to ensure that they get away clean? Mm-hmm. Because that doesn't get raised in the book at all. That's just like, it's never a question that gets asked. But in the film particularly, that is what makes Poirot decide that he should not turn them in, is he says, look, you've got away with this, basically. All you have to do to get away with this clean is kill me. Here's a gun. Do it. And then you'll be free. But if not, you know, I am bound by my conscience to tell the truth.
Yeah. And in the David Suchet one, they do a similar thing of like, except it's Mary Debenham having the conversation with Colonel Arbuthnot being like,
we can't do this.
We're not that person.
Yeah.
Colonel Arbuthnot wants to kill them both. And Mary Debenham was like, no, we're not murderers.
We don't do things that are wrong.
We did, which can I just say is a disservice to Colonel Arbuthnot's character in the book, because he is the one who says it should be 12 because it should be a jury of his peers.
Yeah.
He is the one that is least comfortable with the idea of killing him. And each adaptation makes him the guy that's like, no, actually, I'm okay with... Guy. I'm at least going to try and take out the detective.
Yeah, they do that in the movie as well.
I don't appreciate this slander on my boy.
Yeah, basically.
And the only reason they could have got away with it was that they had basically booked all the 12, or I guess, was it 13 or 14?
It was 13, because they booked one of them for somebody who didn't show up. And then Poirot took that seat. So it's just coincidence that they didn't get away with it. But I completely agree, because in the book, kind of, they all take responsibility for this murder. And I kind of felt, well, if Poirot had turned them in, they would have sort of accepted that. The book, you definitely get the vibe that they're like, if we get caught, we get caught. Obviously, we don't want to, but like, if we do, it's a fair cop, Gov. Like, we'll take our lumps. This should have happened. We're all comfortable with that. And I feel like both the film and the TV show were very like, actually, they will try and kill Poirot first before they come to that.
They don't, though. They don't. In the movie, what happens is he offers them the gun, and Linda Arden, who's been playing Caroline Hubbard, takes the gun, and she says, nobody else needs to go down for this. I will take it all onto myself. And what she actually tries to kill herself with the gun, and it's not loaded.
No, but I mean, Arbuthnot, the doctor, because they've conflated the doctor and Arbuthnot in the movie. Arbuthnot tries to kill Poirot.
That earlier on, yes. Well, it's when he thinks Poirot's going to frame Mary for it. So he's kind of, that's not the plan. And he's kind of not really acting sensibly at that point. I don't think that's, he doesn't want to be in that.
Yeah, but it's still out of character for Arbuthnot. Like,
can I just say, he doesn't try to kill Poirot. He grazes him.
But like, the most Arbuthnot does in the book is say, look, I can't tell you anything about my relationship with Mary, because that wouldn't be right, but all I can say is she's a good egg. You should trust her. She's not a murderer. And that's the most he does. It's very understated. And I can understand the adaptations being all like, oh, yes, the drama. But I liked the characters as they were in
But here's the
novel.
Thing. He does not try to kill Poirot in the movie. He grazes him. It's brought up as a plot point that he did not shoot him. He's a doctor. He was a sniper. And he doesn't kill Poirot. He doesn't shoot to kill.
I mean, I think that is the correct reading of it. But what I will say is that I found that episode in the film very logically inconsistent, in that I felt that if he doesn't want to kill Poirot, why is he shooting him in the first place? To
frame himself as the murderer, because he thinks one of us is going down for this. We're not getting away with this. I want it to be me, and so he shoots Poirot to ensure that, or to try and ensure that that's what will happen.
I guess that might be true, but I don't know. It felt very muddled to me in terms of how clear we were supposed to be on whether or not he missed on purpose.
Oh, I thought the film made that really clear that it was an on purpose miss.
Okay, yeah.
But I've seen it twice, and I've read the TV tropes page. So
yeah. Anyway, I found it very muddled, and I was partially just still really mad that they made Arbuthnot like that. It's just they were all. Again,
both the adaptations do him dirty. I agree.
I get the need for drama in a movie, but I really dislike. I enjoyed the fact that in the book, none of them are that antagonistic towards Poirot.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to bring that up.
Even when he starts to figure them out, they're all very like, you know what? Like, you got me. Yes, I was in the Armstrong household. I did know this. I did know that. They're not...
there's this sequence towards the end where they all just, line up outside his compartment to tell him how they're connected to the case. It's really funny.
Just this is a very, very useful plot point. But in the ITV show, I mean, I haven't watched the film because, no. But in the ITV show, it definitely led you by the hand a lot more. And it set a couple of people up as red herrings.
Yeah.
Just because if you just transliterated it from a book to a TV show, it would be very boring. Because a lot of the interest in the book, for me at least, was Poirot working out what's going on. And also you're trying to work out what's going on. And so, and in the TV show, you're passively watching it. So they make it all dark and spooky and drama and knife. And it's just,
no. I mean, I was saying to Eli, I think the problem was that I read this book for the first time when I was going through my Agatha Christie phase. When I was in school, and I wasn't a big Poirot fan. I think that's the only Poirot I've actually read. As previously stated, not a fan of Marple either. I read all the kind of the individual standalone ones. But I hadn't seen the adaptations before this week, and I think if I had read them with a bit more space between them and the book, I would be more clear-headed about, like, them making good, solid, dramatic choices for an adaptation, instead of just being, I'm just really pissy about all the things that they've changed, because I'm petty that way. Give me another month, and I will probably be able to give you, like, an actual critical perspective on whether or not the movie is good on its own merits, or the TV show is good on its own merits. But as it stands right now, I'm just like, there is character assassination left, right, and centre, and I am not having it.
One thing that both the adaptations did is they both made the Doctor into one of the murderers.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because if I were going to adapt this, I don't see that that's immediately like a choice I would make. So it's interesting that they both did it.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like,
it's probably to make it less confusing.
I can kind of see it in the sense of, like, the Doctor doesn't do
much.
If you can get Monsieur Book to do the narrative work of both Book and
Dr. Constantine,
the Doctor. Like, you can do that. That makes sense. And given that it's a lot of people to keep track of, I can kind of see why they would go, oh, okay, if we can get rid of somebody who seems extraneous, why not him? Right?
But you still need a doctor to do the, like, what was the time of death stuff. So they, instead of getting rid of him, they just combine him with one of the other characters or something.
Yeah.
So in the Suchet version, you don't have the guy who's pretending to be a salesman.
Yeah. Who's actually a private detective, yeah.
I think if I had more space between reading the book and watching the adaptation, because I was trying to think, oh, hang on a minute, wasn't the Doctor a nice person? And it kind of conflated the two.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say, if you haven't, well, I guess if you're listening to this and you haven't read the book or watched the TV show, you're mildly spoiled by this point in the podcast. But
I just so spoiled.
I would definitely say read the book and then have a gap before watching an adaptation. I think that's like any sort of book to TV adaptation, bar maybe Game of Thrones, which, you know, never obviously was written before the TV show sort of trashed it. But yeah, like I think it's good to have that sort of space between the two.
Yeah. I think individually each of them is a very good murder mystery. I think it's just when you get into comparing them. What I was going to say actually about, conflating the Doctor with another character, I think what that does as well is it means you lose that. And so speaking about, like, the level of understatement in this novel, I really like the resolution in the book compared to, like, it's quite dramatic. It's quite dramatic, but I also, going back to the theme of it's not just Poirot being the great man and making high-handed decisions. It's very, as the murder is democratic, so is the resolution. Poirot gets everybody together and says, look, here are the two solutions that I've come up with. And the one is there's the random mannish woman, which we should talk about, because what the that got onto the train at this station, stabbed the guy, and then got off the train at this other station. And there's the every single one of you stabbed him solution. And then they all kind of explain, like, their motivation and, like, who they were to the Armstrong household and all of this. And then Poirot turns to Monsieur Book and Dr. Constantine and says, my friends, which of these solutions do you think is the correct one? And they both unanimously just go, the first one. Like, there isn't even there's barely a split second of deliberation. They're just like, the first one.
He outlines this first solution, and both Monsieur Book and the Doctor go, no, that's ridiculous. That's got a dozen holes in it. That can't possibly be right. And he goes, listen, don't throw away this solution so quickly. You may come to like it more in 5 minutes' time. Yeah. And then he outlines the second one, and he doesn't even ask them. He just turns back to them, and Dr. Constantine is just like, well, it seems that the first one is definitely correct.
The issue is they'd rather pin it on, like, an unknown figure, because they've got to know all the characters on the train. They can't believe it to be any of them. And I think that's what's quite nice, is, like, all 12 of the characters who are part of this plan, they have their own faults, and connected to the Armstrong family, which I can't remember if we mentioned this before, basically is the family so Ratchet kills a little girl from the Armstrong family, and then there's, like, a couple of other I think suicides on
Yeah,
off the back
we
of
should
that.
talk about the whole, like, the way this talks about the ripple effect of a violent crime, because I really liked that. But yeah, sorry, continue.
So basically it was that they all have this connection with the family somehow. So although it's the daughter and the mother who die, it's like the
and
cook.
the unborn child, and then the father commits suicide.
Yeah, and the lady's maid, the
the
governess,
nursemaid of the household.
Nursemaid, that's the one. And they're all like, oh, the cook, the governess, like all these people, the godmother, someone who knew it. They're all sort of very hurt by this crime. It's just it's a ripple effect going out.
Can I just go back to something you said, Lottie, where you said that you read the ending as the doctor and Monsieur Book not wanting to believe that it was the passengers? Because I didn't read it that way at all. I read it as they know and understand that the passengers did it, and they are very... Oh, yes, definitely the first one was correct. Definitely that's the story we're going to run with. I didn't read it as them refusing to accept it. I read it as them coming to the exact same conclusion as Poirot, which is, this is what happened, and I'm not going to get in the way of it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely how I read it.
Oh, sorry, I meant like up to that point. So like before then, they kind of didn't want that. It was that's true. This way, and then actually no, it's not that way.
I do think it's interesting. I think the movie does this better than the TV show. But one of the things I appreciated in the book was how sympathetic Poirot is with Miss Debenham, and how they're both. You get that kind of. I like her. She's described as being strange in the book, but she's very. Almost too collected, you know? She's too calm. She's not having the emotions that a gently bred young lady in this situation ought to have. And I like that. I dig that about her. But also Poirot does too. Like, of the people that are actually suspects, she is the one that is closest to being a confidant to him. And I like that relationship. And I feel like you get more of that in the movie than you do in the TV show.
Yeah, he clearly respects her. Like, I think the movie really does play that up, and it doesn't hurt that... Well, actually, in the TV show, she's played by pre-fame Jessica Chastain, and in the movie, she's played by Daisy Ridley.
Yeah.
So they've got two very... Like, it's interesting that the... I mean, I guess Jessica Chastain wasn't famous back then, but they've got very good actresses to play that particular part in both adaptations.
And although I will say I do think both adaptations softened her quite a bit.
Yeah.
But... No, we're not talking like the Going Postal adaptation that makes Adora Belle Dearheart cry, because that's just... I still want to kill whoever's idea that was. But it was just a little thing that I was kind of like... I liked her being strange and not having the emotions that people expect her to have.
Yeah.
Not that I'm projecting heavily onto this fictional character or anything. And I was kind of a bit disappointed that she went a bit... Not delicate lady exactly, but she's a bit... softer and a bit like she fangirls a bit about Poirot, and she's, I don't know.
I kind of like the idea that maybe she wants to be like Poirot. She likes the idea of being a detective and going and solving mysteries and things.
Yeah.
We were going to talk about basically the setup of this and like what Ratchet does when he's, back when he was Cassetti, and how that basically brings about the events of this, because the setup is there was this colonel, this English colonel who had earned a Victoria Cross in the First World War. He'd moved to the States. He'd married the daughter of an actress, and they were very much in love, very happy. They had a 3-year-old daughter called Daisy, and they were expecting another child. Daisy is kidnapped. Ransom is asked. They pay the ransom, but it turns out that Cassetti, the kidnapper, killed Daisy.
Anyway,
basically as soon as he got her, like not even just after he got the ransom. Like he kidnapped her, he killed her, and then was trying to extract ransom. So it's like just really, really awful on a load of levels. And then they find out that Daisy is dead after paying the ransom. The wife goes into premature labour with her baby. They both die. The husband kills himself. And it's this, this.
And then one of the servants as well, who the police suspect before they've caught Cassetti, and she hangs herself in prison.
No, she throws herself out a window in the book.
Oh yeah, so
you're right. Sorry.
Yeah. So there's the nursery maid is people trying to pin it on her because they can't catch Cassetti, or they can't really figure out what's happened, and which again is about not only this awful crime but the miscarriage of justice and what that's done to this family, because you get the sense that if Cassetti had been convicted and the nursery maid hadn't died and all of this stuff, they would have been able to move on. It was not only the tragedy and the horror of what happened, but the fact that they weren't able to get justice.
And specifically that the way in which the people were attempting supposedly to get justice for them did more harm than good.
So they just did it themselves.
Yeah. But that also mirrors nicely Poirot's decision to not get involved, isn't it? Because he would, if we're doing this in terms of harm reduction, if we're talking about, you know, what causes the least damage to other human beings, him saying, you know what, actually, it was some random dude who got on the train at wherever.
Because what's the alternative as well is trying to prosecute these 12 people, some of whom are very well connected, all of whom are traumatized, to try and get justice for Cassetti?
And I think that's the thing, is like that not only is a miscarriage of justice, is they knew Cassetti did it. So not only if they it's not like, oh, we don't know who did it, and that's it's they know who did it. They found this guy, they found he was Ratchet, and they found him on I can't remember if it's mentioned how they set up Ratchet and they are also on the train.
So they get the two people who were employed by him, his valet and his secretary, they sneak them into his employment.
Oh, yeah, that was it. Yeah.
And then they arrange to all be on the train at the same time, which is perfect.
Because those are the people in charge of arranging Cassetti's travel.
Exactly.
But there again, as a setup, you got to think, it's a bit... If they were going to commit this on a train, and then you get from A to B, and there's no stopping service on this train. Did you think
there is, though.
Well, yeah.
They did plan it so that there would be a plausible explanation.
Oh, okay, yeah, I guess they did stop, yeah.
And the thing is, they needed all 12 of them there at once to be the jury. Like, they needed to have it be collective.
It's not just a practical concern, because, like, if they fill up a carriage, then there's nobody... I mean, I think this is something that I was disappointed didn't get stressed in either adaptation, was that it's not just that they don't want to get caught, that they filled up the carriage with other conspirators. It's that they don't want somebody who wasn't guilty to be framed for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
They don't want if anyone's going down for this, it's them, it's not an outsider.
Yep.
It's kind of their justice to serve. Not someone else's.
I think one of the questions that like this book asks is, what do you do when your institutions fail you?
Yeah,
because that's what's happened to them, right?
That is true. Yeah.
Something I was a little bit disappointed with the follow through, because I think the David Suchet one definitely is playing on that. So in the book, we don't get very much detail about the case that Poirot has just finished when he's getting on the Orient Express. It's very... I really enjoyed the roundabout way it's presented. It's very noodle incident, is that what you call it?
Yeah,
where you get a few details and like enough to imply that it's this massive political affair, but there's no real, like... You couldn't string together the case from that.
No.
And it's just funny. It's just a funny little, like, aside about, like, what Poirot's been up to. And in both adaptations, it's... I mean, more so in the David Suchet, it's very like Poirot has pursued justice without compassion. He's gone for order without justice. He gets called out for like solving the case in a way that drives somebody who's I think it's implied he's accidentally killed someone, but he drives this man to commit suicide. It's very much in response to the way Poirot is solving the case.
Yeah, it's either he's accidentally killed someone or he was present for somebody's death or something like that.
Yeah, and then lied about it. But like, yeah, it's very like it kind of carries through that sort of line of like what is justice, and we've talked about it before on the podcast, I think, but the idea that investigating a crime, however like compassionate and noble your motives might be, like has this enormous impact, and often in a very negative impact. It requires you to ask things that you have no right to ask, and go places you have no right to go, and infringe on other people's privacy and humanity in order to get to the truth. And how much is that worth, really? I mean, in the Armstrong case, it drove like an innocent woman to suicide, and in this case, what's the cost of pursuing this? Yeah, it's interesting. I appreciate... It's almost a deconstruction of a normal murder mystery, and it's saying, actually, when is this just... What is justice in this incident? Real life is complicated, and our justice system is fallible. Like, I was going to say, this is a reason you couldn't, if we're swapping out detectives, you couldn't put any police detective in here.
God, no.
Yeah.
It just absolutely wouldn't work.
You could put Classic Holmes, I think.
You could, Classic Holmes does not have time for the police. Classic Holmes is like leaning towards the side of all cops are bastards, let's be honest.
I was going to say, Where would you drop an F-bomb in this book? If you had to drop just one, where would you drop it in the book?
Poirot sees that his eggs are not perfectly the same size and just lets loose.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. No, I think that's it. I don't think... Because I think one of the strengths of the book is how understated the humour is. And I think if you put... That means there are probably some very good places to put an F-bomb, but all of the sort of climactic things that I'm thinking of, I just wouldn't. Because it's perfect as it is.
I mean, I would say when he's talking to Ratchet, when he doesn't like his face. I don't like your face. just there. Just drop that in a Belgian accent for just no context. I think that would be...
do you know what? I think we should let Monsieur Book say... He's the one that, there's been a murder on his train. It's all so horrible and nasty. He didn't sign up for this. Let Monsieur Book say 2K20.
Something I love about the film adaptation, actually, is Monsieur Book, you introduced to him and he's this playboy and he arrives with like a sex worker on his arm who's overjoyed to see Poirot. She's like clearly a fan. And he says something about like, I like Poirot because he doesn't mind that I'm a terrible human. Which... can't be true because Poirot does not associate with terrible humans, right? But also he ends up being one of the most clearly moral people throughout the film. Like, he's just a nice person who wants people to be safe and for there not to have been a murder on his train. And,
No, I've got a lot of time for movie Monsieur Book. There are a lot of places where the adaptations made character changes that I was like, as I have said at length, that I didn't enjoy very much, but I really, really like movie Monsieur Book.
Yeah, no, he was good.
I was going to say, what do you think the cat would rate this book? I mean, I think very high. There's a lot of crime in it, obviously. But...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of crime. There's sneaking around. There's lying. She loves to lie.
She loves to stab things. She does love to stab things.
So she's basically Italian then?
By the horrible 20s racist standard of this
according to the book's prejudices.
This is according to the book where it basically talks about how all Italians like effectively carry knives. I'm like, it's a bit of a sweeping statement, but carry knives for the pizza. She likes pizza.
Yeah.
She will try and eat whatever food you have available. What do I think she would rate the book? I think she'd give it a solid 8.5. There's no actual cats in it.
Yeah, that's where that was about where I was hovering, was around an 8, because I think, it's a lot of good crime, it's a lot of good murder. We cannot get around the fact that there are no cats.
Yeah.
And I think she would be disappointed in the, she's not interested in justice, she's just out for stabbing. I think the moral preoccupation with the nature of justice would be uninteresting to her.
But stabbing and getting away with it, though.
She does like stabbing and getting away with it, it's true.
Given we are teaching her to read, like...
Yeah, if we're going to think about teaching her to read, there's a lot of French in this book. That's one thing I was going to say, is I'm glad that I have sort of like a bit of conversational French, because it's sprinkled throughout the book.
But GCSE has use.
Yeah, finally, right?
Finally!
Yeah. So, are we going to branch out into teaching the cat different languages? Should we start with Poirot books as a gentle intro to French? We'll have to...
It gives her some Dora the Explorer.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think an 8.5 out of 10 on this.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that. 8.5.
Yeah. All right, I think that wraps us up on Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
So, what are we reading at the moment, apart from this?
I mean, I finished Way of Kings in a week, and it's 1,000 pages, and I love that book. And yeah, I'm going to stop talking now before I keep... But I finished Way of Kings, everybody. Yay.
I have been reading fanfiction. I've been reading all of Shanna Storyteller's backlog, because I've realised that they wrote some Naruto fanfic back in the day, and boy, was that a trip down memory lane for me. Yeah, I've been staying up till inadvisable hours of the night reading fanfiction. That's what I've been doing.
Oh, hard same. I haven't been quite as consistent as Eli. Eli has gone for like one of my favourite fanfic authors of all time and just go, I will read everything. Whereas I have just been like, how far through the Les Mis AO3 tag can I get before I have to sleep, eat, or like collapse in exhaustion? I'm supposed to be doing NaNoWriMo, and what I'm actually doing is reading just huge amounts of Les Amis fic. That's just who I am now as a person.
Yeah, that's dated this episode. We are recording in November. Yeah, I started doing NaNoWriMo and got 300 words in and went, you know what? Nah.
That's fair enough. I mean, I'm mentioning this because I'm like halfway through things that I have mentioned in all the previous episodes and I haven't got any further with them. I'm still halfway through Living a Feminist Life. I'm still halfway through This Is How You Lose the Time War. I watched Secret Garden, the old movie, with my sister the other week, so I started reading that again as bedtime reading.
I watched Enola Holmes on Netflix.
Oh yeah, that was so good.
If we're doing a consumption corner, that was also a good film on Netflix. If you
I was going to say I meant to give a shout out to Agatha Christie and the Truth of the Murder, which is also on Netflix and is about the her solving a mystery during the time she disappeared, which we are all familiar with, of course, because of that epic Doctor Who episode
with the giant bees.
It's interesting because it kind of picks up on that theme of group justice in a really interesting way, and like what is justice, and like there are resonances with the resolution of Murder on the Orient Express. Like it's clearly in conversation with it, even if it's not intended to be a direct, like this incident in Agatha Christie's life led to Murder on the Orient Express. But yeah, it's just a very good, like soft, cute, like as far as murder mysteries go,
like historical fiction, right?
And there are lesbians, so you know,
a bonus for any piece of content, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, all right. I think that about wraps us up for this episode. So thank you for listening.
Next week we'll be reading The Perilous Life of Jade Yu by Zen Choo.
All right, so we'll see you then. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and review. You can add us on Twitter, on Instagram, on our website at teachingmycattoread.wordpress.com. If you want to recommend us a book, please just shoot us an email at teachingmycattoread@gmail.com and add hello there to your subject so we know that you aren't spam. All right, we'll see you next time. It's bye for me.
Bye.